For Tuesday's baseball games, it will be the Cardinals and Pirates. Kyle Gibson will be on the mound for the Cardinals, and Mitch Keller will go for the Pirates. Royals and Rays. Rays are 42-42. Royals are 47-39. Zach Little will go for the Rays, and Brady Singer will go for the Royals. Game time 7:10. Game time for the Cardinals and Pirates 5:40. And game time for the Cubs and Phillies 7:05. Michael Morcada will go for the Phillies, and Hayden Wnansky will go for the Cubs. Again, game time 7:05. This is Sam Vaughn for baseball.
All right, guys, so we do have a little bit of an update on the Chicago White Sox situation with their lease ending here in 2028. What does the future look like? Could they potentially move out of Chicago, considering there's already the Cubs in the city, or would they possibly move to a suburb and just get a new stadium? Or could this just be a leverage play to make the public partially or fully fund a massive stadium renovation to where they currently play? You can see White Sox chairman meets with mayor of Nashville during, I'm guessing this was during the winter meetings, because the winter meetings, the MLB winter meetings, were in Nashville, Tennessee. The White Sox confirmed the meeting with the mayor of Nashville. The White Sox confirmed the meeting with the mayor of Nashville, but the team did not reveal what they talked about. And in the summer, the White Sox shot down rumors that they were considering moving to Nashville. I don't think the timeline really works for the White Sox to move to Nashville. If we can kind of understand what's going to be happening over the next year or so, once the situations with the Oakland Athletics and the Tampa Bay Rays get resolved, and we're kind of moving towards the end of it. It looks like the Rays are staying in Tampa, or the Tampa area, St. Petersburg to be exact. They're building a new stadium. And then we should have the A's officially, once we get the new renderings, everything comes out, be moving to Las Vegas and possibly breaking ground on their new stadium later this year. Once those things happen, we would expect Nashville and possibly another city, maybe San Antonio, maybe somewhere out west, to get MLB expansion teams. That could potentially happen in 2025 or 2026. And again, Nashville's a heavy favorite for one of those teams, so you would think Nashville would be off the table by the time 2028 rolls around, because they would already be chosen as an expansion city. But this is very interesting. White Sox Stadium update. Here's what we know so far. This came out a little over a month ago. What is the White Sox current situation? They've played at Guaranteed Rate Field since 1991. That is not a strikingly old age for a stadium, and especially considering Guaranteed Rate Field did get a pretty big renovation in the early 2000s where they removed a bunch of seats and changed all of the seat colors in the stadium. But it is a stadium that is bottom 5 or bottom 6. The question is, based on where it's located, it's not the best part of Chicago. There's a little bit higher crime in the area. Do they want to really commit to that area for another 10 or 15 years, which is what a stadium renovation would entail? If you're investing another $200 or $300 million into a stadium, you're going to be there for at least, the next decade or so. It would be, let's say they get a renovation in 2027, 2028. They would be there until at least 2040. Would the White Sox consider moving? Maybe going to a suburb? This is exactly what the Bears are considering doing, possibly going to Arlington Heights, and their situation should be resolved sometime this year. I would still expect a move to Arlington Heights for them. But when it comes to the White Sox current stadium, you would expect them, with the lease expiring soon, based on the stadium's current lifespan and how bad it is, there's going to be some type of leverage play by the White Sox ownership to try and get a renovation, or maybe even just move outright out of that area. You know, stadium districts are so huge now, especially with the MLB and the ballpark districts. You would think they'd want to take advantage of that. With where this stadium is located, based on the crime, I'm not sure they'd be able to really do much with a stadium district. So you would figure the ownership would say, listen, let's try and be able to fund a brand new stadium elsewhere, maybe in a suburban area, but I don't know how well an MLB stadium would do in a suburban area. You know, even if it's a suburb of Chicago where the population center is still pretty dense. The issue is there's just so many games. You need as much population as humanly possible, and you already have the Cubs there as well. The White Sox, could they really consider moving altogether to a different city? I don't think it's going to be Nashville, because Nashville is going to be getting an expansion team. But you can see we have not had any conversations about our lease situation. The lease expiring at the end of 2028 with 6 years remaining. It is naturally nearing a time where discussions should begin to take place, the conversations with the city and the state. So they're talking about the conversations are going to be coming. What about relocation within Chicago in August? Bob Nightingale reported that the White Sox would consider a retractable roof ballpark within the city, and that's not too surprising based on trends, based on Chicago being pretty cold in April, the White Sox possibly trying a retractable roof, and would also consider options outside of the South Side. The report indicated that the team could potentially look at sites near the United Center, which is where the Chicago Bulls and the Blackhawks, the NHL team, play. Another potential option could be Soldier Field, and I guess the idea is you would have the Bears move out of Soldier Field, the entire stadium would be demolished, and then on top of it, you would build the White Sox new stadium. That's another option for them to think about. So when it comes to the White Sox, it seems like there's three main things. You either do some type of big renovation, probably in the late 2020s, to guaranteed rate field. That's the first option, and you just stay there. The second option is you move somewhere, maybe to a suburb, maybe staying in Chicago, maybe on the Soldier Field site, but you don't relocate. And then the third and that would entail a brand new stadium, probably a retractable roof, but that is just speculation, very preliminary. The third option would be to move completely and do I don't think it would be Nashville, because again, I think Nashville's already getting a team, but it would be moving somewhere else. Maybe Austin, Texas by then becomes an option. San Antonio is very interested. I've seen some things recently about them and an MLB team. Those would be your three main options if you are the White Sox when it comes to what they're planning on doing. And I'm sure it's a developing story. We may or may not hear anything else, come out of it this year, considering it is only 2024. The lease isn't up until 2028, but I would imagine this is going to progressively get more and more dialogue as we get closer and closer to that lease. And then just another thing, I don't think this deserves its own video, but the Spectrum Center in Charlotte is getting a bit of a renovation, a pretty big makeover, where they're adding a bunch of suites. They're adding a little pavilion in the upper deck. We saw the Cleveland Cavaliers do something like this 4 or 5 years ago. They also had an exterior renovation as well, but you can see what the Charlotte Hornets are doing. This is just another NBA arena renovation. With NBA arenas, normally when they get to be about 18 to 20 years old, you see stuff like this. It is interesting. There is no natural light involved with this, and we've seen two different arenas, Atlanta and Indiana, both have state arena renovations where they do incorporate a lot of natural light. I don't believe there's going to be any natural light, but you can see the big thing. It's that upper deck pavilion where they chop out some of those seats and they put in kind of a little hub there with a bar, and then they also are going to have several bigger bars in the lower sections as well. That's another big trend. It's the social space era. It's the gathering. It's the parties up to 72 people. Everyone can conjugate, and they're adding a bunch of suites. They're adding VIP sections as well. They're modernizing their arena there in Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's another thing that is going to be coming in terms of that. Also, I might decide to do a separate video on this. Mark Cuban possibly thinking about building a new arena for the Dallas Mavericks. And when it comes to just the state of Texas in general, there's a few teams. I was talking about the Spurs situation after they got Wembanyama. They're planning on building a new arena, and I would say they need a new arena. The one that they currently play in, I want to say it's called the AT&T Center. They changed the name so much, I don't know, but they really do need some type of a new arena or a renovation there. So the Spurs might be getting a new arena. The Dallas Mavericks could be considering a new arena, but I really do like their stadium or their arena exterior. And then how about the Houston Rockets? The Toyota Center isn't anything special either. Could they possibly consider something in the future? I'm not sure. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are going ahead with their new stadium, but we still have yet to see the renderings. So mainly I'm looking for the renderings on the Thunder's new arena and also the new stadium renderings for the Las Vegas ballpark. But either way, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.